Welcome, guys, back to Road to Success. I've got Jose Rivas here, a longtime friend of mine and great realtor with the team, and he's gonna talk to us today. So, Jose, let's start in the beginning. So let's go back, like, you know, your early career. How did you get to where you're at now?
Right. Well, first, thanks for inviting me today. It's nice to be here with you. We go a long ways.
Yep.
And I've seen your career taking off since the beginning as well. So speaking of the beginning,
yeah.
I've seen you since you were in diapers kind of thing in this world. I mean, in this business. So, when I first started, like most agents, I was dual career.
Mm-hmm.
I was school teacher at that time. And a friend of mine said, realtor, it's like, you should do this so you can do it on the weekends and summertime. So I got my license in April 2005, and I started getting my first clients back then, and that summer, it was a good summer for me. I closed, it's 2005, things were easier.
Yeah. And
pretty much, just put it this way, I make enough money between April and September 1st. I make more money during that time that I was making as a school teacher.
Wow.
So
that's a great start.
It's a great start. So to me, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Baltimore City Public School was struggling back then,
mm-hmm.
and there were some issues with administration and all that stuff. So I was not happy and decided I'm gonna do what my friend told me. I'm gonna work as a teacher Monday to Friday, 7:30 to 3 o'clock, and then I'm gonna be a realtor from 4 to whenever, and then weekends. So during those years, pretty much, I was working so hard, pretty
mm-hmm.
much from like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, 7 days a week, grinding. Always, building the pipeline, getting clients, and I'm building something. I partnered with another agent that was also in the same situation that
mm-hmm.
I was, and decided to team up and created a team that later became a brokerage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, we decided to open up a brokerage and a mortgage company at the same time.
Oh, boy.
November 1st, 2007.
Oh, okay.
I always going to remember that day. Because it was like, okay, we got our first office, we got our first thing, the company's legit, we're going for it. And then 3 months later, everything, the rug was pulled from underneath, and things didn't go well. It was a tough, 2008 was a tough year,
mm-hmm.
Really tough year. I mean, some agents out there right now who they didn't experience that downturn in 2008. They're looking at this year like, oh my God, this is horrible. This is nothing.
Yeah.
This is nothing. This is just quick slow down. 2008 was really bad. And so my focus shifted in 2008 to, instead of helping first-time buyers, because there were not too many of them at that point, instead of helping a lot of the clients that I was helping, my focus shifted to bank foreclosures.
Okay, right.
So I became ingrained into bank foreclosures and running the brokerage, letting go of the mortgage company because that fell completely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to say that it fell. We tried it, we made an effort, but it didn't work out.
Right.
But we kept afloat the real estate company doing REOs, and that helped us pretty much. We have a lot of great clients to banks, and in 2015 I decided to merge with Keller Williams, close mm-hmm. the company down, merge with Keller Williams, and kind of reshift again back to helping the average consumer, the average family. Because one thing that happened to me during the times of the REOs, that was our necessity.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to feed my family. I needed to, take care of keep my company afloat, pay the employees and all that. So the REO was paying the bills, it was doing that, and we had some fun with it. And when I say everything was grind. However, something was missing. I was burned out. I was not too happy with what was going on, and when I changed companies, I realized that what was missing in me was the satisfaction of helping somebody with the real estate need. I was helping the corporate, not the human, and that was missing. So we changed gears. We started a new team, Lion Home Group, and in 2015, and our focus was help consumers.
So when you started a brokerage, for someone that wants to start a brokerage, what is that like? What do you have to do?
Okay, it's not as glamorous as it sounds. And I'm not trying to tell people don't do it. You go ahead and do what you want to experience. And sometimes it's the ego, sometimes it's the greed, sometimes it's a little bit of both. Sometimes it's just having the freedom. In my case, it was more of the freedom. I didn't want somebody to tell me the rules other than the real estate commission, but I wanted to create my own rules for my company, my own policies, and have more control on that.
Right.
So, first of all, you need to know what is going to be your value proposition. And like any business, just whether you have a team, whether you're starting as a solo agent, whether you are selling, I don't know, tacos on a truck or burgers from a stand or lemonade from a stand. Little kids, if you're watching this, learn this. You need to know what is your value proposition.
What sets you apart?
Yeah, exactly. What sets you apart, what is going to attract people to come to work with you. And that is the key. What is going to attract clients to come and work with you.
Right.
And so have the value proposition. That's the first thing. Number two is finding who do you want to attract? Who do you want to, both as clients and as agents? Because when you have a brokerage, your agents are your clients. So you got to treat them that way. They're not your employees, they're your clients.
Right.
And you have to, the same way you want to have great clients, you want to have great agents working for you. So you need to have a lot of the things that they want.
Right.
And then you got to figure out location, logistics, staff, and all those things. One of the things that I was fortunate, because I have some friends that have opened brokerages, and they go the traditional business model route of, okay, let me get a small business loan, or let me get a personal commercial loan so I can pay for the renovations on the office, and I can pay for staff and furniture and computers, technology, and all the stuff, right? I didn't do it that way. I saved money, save money to be able to work on that. So I never had to get a loan from.
That's amazing.
From anyone. So it was just like, okay, we need to buy a computer. It's gonna cost this much. We need to pay salaries. We need this much. So working, and saving money to do those things.
So you planned it out, and you said, this is probably this is how much it's gonna cost. This is how much we're gonna need. Let's save up that amount so we can start doing it. Because if you didn't, like you said, a lot of other people are getting loans, and at that point, right, you're working out of a need, and you're like, of course we're gonna hustle, right? We're gonna go out and get it, but I feel like there's a big difference in when you're like, man, I don't know where my next meal is gonna come from, and we need to make sure everyone gets paid, right? Because we have employees. Versus, everything is like, you're starting not from a negative. You're starting from zero, right? Because you're trying to build this thing, but you're not trying to, basically have this weight on your shoulders of, I have to pay $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month or more, right? To just to be in good standing, let alone make money.
Well, and this is the thing. Sometimes, we like good things. Who doesn't, right? Like to have that office with the great furniture, paint, the logos, computers, great receptionist person on the front, have like, everything nice, right? however, if you have to work it up to that.
Right.
So my first office, my brokerage, we were on the second floor of a Mexican restaurant, in the middle of Broadway, and you had to go up the steps in this dark hallway to get to our office, and we have no good signage because the restaurant took the whole signage, but we discovered one thing, then we did so much business, and we didn't have people walking in, because the thing of the walk-ins was a good thing in the past, but it doesn't work as much because nowadays people go online to check out the real estate companies, agents, and the process, loan officers, and people don't just walk in anymore to say, hey, I want to buy a house, I want to sell my house, which one of you guys is gonna pick me up? I mean, even to get a haircut nowadays, you got to make an appointment online.
Right.
You can't just walk in anymore. People don't walk in anymore.
You walk in and they're like, no, we're booked.
Yeah, exactly. So we're used to that, no walking in anymore. So I realized that then, and we grew up, and then we decided, okay, you know what? This location is not good anymore for us. Let's find a better location in Perry Hall. Let's paint the whole place nice. Let's put new, everything nice, and we did it.
Yeah.
But we save money for that, and then is the staff. As you grow, you need to grow the staff as well, because that's another mistake that I see with a lot of business owners in general. They don't want to, as the business grow, instead of growing the staff to support the business, they want to grow the sales part.
Right.
And to me, it's always like it's human nature, like when we form, in the womb, first is the head and the heart,
right,
and then is the spinal cord,
right.
And you need to have a strong spinal cord to be able to support the limbs. And some people try to build the limbs before they have the spinal cord. And the spinal cord in a business is the back office, is your staff. Is the person who's going to take care of your clients, is the person who's going to help you grow, is having that good spinal cord, having that good core in your body, is essential to be healthy, because that's what holds the heart and the organs and help you. So some people want to have strong arms, strong legs, but they don't do anything for the core.
Right.
And it doesn't work out because you play sports, you need to have strong core for everything.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than having a great salesperson that can't handle, the sales that they can bring in, right? Yeah. And it just makes them look worse. Right, because they're like, man, I call this guy, he never answers. He's really good at what he does, but I can never get a hold of him. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and I've been accused of that, and I've been, being transparent here in some extent. When I did something from REO agencies usually don't answer phone calls. They want to do everything to email or text, preferably email, and to this day, I'm busy. I have other businesses that I run, so sometimes when you don't get me, but you get one of my assistants, and I will answer the phone for me. I will get the message if it's important, then I will reply. But that helps also having that staff, that leverage.
Right. So going back and talking about your REOs, there's always an opportunity to be had in every market that we're in.
Absolutely.
Right? And you saw that opportunity. You said, wow, there's a lot of these properties popping up. How can I get that? So how did you do that?
Well, when I started the business, I saw the kind of loans that people were getting. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I remember I had a client that he only qualified for $75,000 FHA, and somebody else qualified him for a loan for $250,000, and he went and bought the house with another agent, another loan officer. When he told me, he was bragging. He's like, "Hey, you couldn't help me to buy the house that I wanted because you only qualified me to $75,000. I went to this other guy and I bought the house for $250,000 that I wanted." I'm like, "Well, congratulations." But when I ask questions, they were giving all kinds of loans to people back in those days.
Right.
And so I started asking questions. It's like, what happens when people cannot afford to make the payment? Because I realized there were arms that they were going to reset. They were interest only, and then they were going to go to the regular. So I'm like, okay, this person is paying $900 a month today, but when it resets, it's going to be $2,500 a month.
Right.
They're not going to be able to afford that. So what happens then? So my office manager at the time kind of educated me about the foreclosure process a little bit. So I looked into it, and in 2008, I got approved to work with some banks that I've been knocking on the door for a while. Again, I saw where things were going, and I started putting myself in that, in alignment with the banks. And it took a lot of persistence. It took a lot of persistence. The last big company that I signed up with was Freddie Mac. And it took me probably about 2 years applying to Freddie Mac to get approved from Freddie Mac.
So you go online or wherever it is that you apply?
It's a lot to it. You go online, you go to different conferences to meet with the powers that be, and you meet all the agents that are in the networks, and they help you get in. So it took a lot of, I wasn't just sitting on my desk waiting for the phone to ring, or just, calling. I was also going out there. I was traveling to these areas, mostly they're in Texas back then, traveling to Texas a lot to knock on the doors and get the business.
That's amazing.
So, you have to, if you want something, you have to pursue it. You have to be relentless. You cannot just be, poor me, they didn't give me a chance. I give up. You have to keep doing. You have to keep doing, going, and networking. It's who you know. It's very important to get the business, because it's even though it's a corporate, there is somebody who has to approve you to work for that corporate.
So for 2 years, you did not stop. You were relentless. You were like, I'm gonna get this, and you eventually got it. And I mean, back in from 2008 to 2010 is probably the peak of it.
Well, the peak was all the way to 2012, because there were some other things back there, freezing in foreclosures, the robo signing, and there was a bunch of stuff that slowed down the foreclosure. So they're trying to slow it down as much as possible to keep the prices good point. But yeah, I started applying to, actually it was more than 2 years, started applying to Freddie Mac back in 2010. I didn't get in until 2014. So it took about 4 years.
Wow.
Fannie Mae was 2 years. But HUD, VA, like I said, we used to have most of the banks back then. And it was a process. You had to go to a lot of networking events, meet a lot of people to find the person who's going to sign up for you to get in. And
then once you got these, they just send you guys an email, hey, there's this property listed.
Yeah, like I said, it was a lot of work. It was, okay, here's a new property. Go check for occupancy, see if there's anybody living in there. If there's somebody to catch for keys, look at get some bids for trash out, cleanups, put the power on your name, BG on your name. Let us know if it's better to fix it and sell it or to sell it as is. And sometimes you have to babysit the house for a couple of years until the foreclosure is finalized.
Oh, wow.
So it's a lot of work. And we put a lot of money up front, paying water bills, taxes, utilities,
oh, wow.
grass cuts, repairs, a lot of stuff. Sometimes we put money up front to be able to get it. And, but again, that's what was paying the bills. It was giving us a lot of business, closing, hundreds of properties a year.
Wow.
And I also had to have the staff to be able to help me carry all of that. So it was interesting. It was a little fun at points. And
well, I bet. I mean, I'm sure you have, tell us a story about, something that probably happened, because, doing cash for keys and making sure properties are good. I'm sure something must have happened that you can probably be like, well, you know what, this one time.
Well, there's a lot of stories with that, some good, some bad. So, but I was going to tell you a good one. There was this lady in Burtonsville, because I was all over the state of Maryland, Burtonsville, and she lost a house. So we did the cash for key, and she told me, it's like, I want to buy another house again, and I want to use these because the way we treated her, it was helping people move out of their houses with dignity.
Right.
Because the worst thing is like, okay, you stop paying, get out of here, and so gotta work, keep helping dignity.
Right.
And so she agreed to the cash for key, left the house on her own with all dignity, and we said, let's work together. And she stayed in touch with me. I stayed in touch with the family, but she was the one calling the shots. And about 3 or 4 years later, they called me and say, we have some money saved. Can we run our credit? So we run the credit. They were good to go, and we helped them purchase a house.
That's amazing. So you were able to help someone who years prior, you had to come and say, hey, guys, it's time for you guys to go. You help them get out, right? Like you said, treat them right. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people need to understand, that if you just treat people right, regardless of what you're going to get out of it, God, or, if you don't believe in God, the universe, whatever it is, it's the energy that you put out. If you're putting out good energy, you're going to get good energy back. And if you're treating people right, they're going to treat you right back. Not everybody, right? There's people who have a bad day, and you never know what people are going through. But, the fact that, you're able to turn that situation around for them, help them get there, and then come back, that's a beautiful story.
Well, I remember when you were in my team, that's when we were like weeding out the REOs. And you showed me that movie, 100 Houses or something. I forget the name of that movie. The guy that was pretty much the repo guy for houses, which is what I was doing. I was knocking on the door and was like, excuse me, your house got foreclosed. The bank wants you to move out. At the end of that movie, the guy was doing that, and the person behind the door had a shotgun, and he was stressed out, and he shot him. And that was something, my family, especially my wife, was always kind of had that little bit of a fear that, because people who are in that situation, they're desperate, they don't know,
right?
I don't know what state of mind they're in, and it was always concerned, like, I'm knocking on a house, who is behind the door, who's going to answer that door, what is going to be the state of mind. Thank God everybody was good. They were stressed out, they were in bad state of mind. Like I say, we were served with compassion and giving dignity.
Right.
And that's important, because some of those people, they still call us out. There was actually, I remember that family that I'm telling you, but there were a few other families that always stay in touch with us. Always call, like, I want to buy a house, I want to use you and your team to buy the house. And I think we help a few other ones as well.
That's great. That's great. And for people that don't know, right, that might be looking into this and it's their first time, or maybe they're just learning about real estate, when did things started shifting in REOs where they became less and less and less?
Well, once most of the inventory was sold, and some of those banks sold their inventories in different ways to investors in Wall Street and to the average people, that kind of started drying out probably about 2017. And then in 2020, when freeze foreclosures and all that slowed down a lot. And there is always a normal of all the houses that sell, usually about 1 or 2% of all the houses are REOs.
Right.
There was a time where it was about 25%.
Wow.
Right now it's less than 1%. Because there's foreclosures are not happening as much anymore. And the other thing is people have equity in the houses.
Right.
I'm actually helping a client right now who is going through a divorce. He's going through a divorce, and he stopped paying the house for some time, and we just had a conversation, and from that conversation we realized that he has over $100,000 in equity in the house.
Wow.
And I say, you know what, you're gonna lose this house, you're gonna lose $100,000 because he's in a bad situation. Getting divorced is not easy.
Right.
It's very emotional, very stress. So he's thinking from all the stress of getting divorced, all the emotions, all the things, splitting the family, having custody of the kids every other weekend.
Mm.
I mean, all those things are what is important to him.
Right.
And it's I mean, that's priority. Family is priority.
Right.
Right. But then he's losing the house,
Mm-hmm.
and she's losing the house too,
Right.
because it's not just him; it's both of them.
Right.
And so I say to him, it's like, hey, buddy, you have equity in this house. Why are you going to mess up your credit, mess up her credit,
Mm-hmm.
and lose money on it?
Mm.
And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you bought the house for this much. Your house is now worth this much.
Mm-hmm.
If we sell this house after you pay even the penalties that you have with the bank right now
Mm-hmm.
for not paying, pay commissions, you pay taxes, you pay everything, you're still gonna walk away with the good size of money. And yeah, you're gonna split it up with your ex-wife,
Right.
and you know you guys will split it up, but you're gonna have enough money there that you can use as a down payment for another house.
Right. And this way he doesn't go through the foreclosure, because if you go through the foreclosure, as someone who does loans, depending on the type of loan it was, you could be looking between 2, 4, 5, sometimes even 10 years, right? And the most part, we can probably get them in a house in a couple of years, but
Correct, and that's bad. But the worst thing is, once you have a foreclosure on your name, you cannot get a government clearance.
oh, that's big. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and as you know, we're here in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of government jobs.
Right.
I mean, even just to go and as an electrician or carpenter to go do
Right.
something at an army base
Mm.
or at a one of the secret buildings that the government has,
Mm-hmm.
they do background checks and they do clearance.
Oh, wow.
So if you don't have that,
See that right there, I feel like that's something people really should know.
yes, and with this guy, he has a job that at one point he needed clearance. So he's like, really? Do you want to have another job where you might need clearance again? He's like, maybe, I don't know.
Right.
So I'm like, you don't want to you don't want to burn that bridge.
Wow.
So
That's a big bridge to burn.
it is a big bridge to burn,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to burn that. So hey, if anybody listens to us and right here and they are going through a similar situation, think about,
Mm-hmm.
because there is always a solution to it.
Right.
And I know back in the days we're doing short sales.
Right.
Today people have equity in their properties,
Mm-hmm.
so there's no need for a short sale. Actually, get your money.
Right.
Get your money. Yeah, like in this situation, this gentleman, his credit is bad right now. He probably, he has default on his mortgage for some months.
Mm-hmm.
So as you know, he won't be able to get a mortgage right away.
Right.
But he can build his credit back up.
Right.
In a couple of years, he might be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And if he puts that money in some sort of a CD,
Mm-hmm.
because at this point he wasn't planning on having that money.
Right.
So he puts that money in a 2-year CD, getting some interest.
And right now they're not low. It's
They're-
not like a couple years ago where it
Correct.
was like half of a 1%.
Correct. So in a couple of years, when he's ready to buy a house, he has that money ready
Mm-hmm.
with a little bit of extra in there for the interest,
Mm-hmm.
and he can use that for a nice down payment.
Right. That's a very good option, and I feel like, like you were saying, a lot of people have equity right now, and they should be taking advantage of that. And another thing too that I've been seeing is people doing more seller financing or subject to properties like that, where someone's coming and they're saying, hey, you're about to lose your property, instead of, maybe they, if they were to go sell it, they're like, they have to write a check sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, instead of doing that, how about we just do seller financing? I continue to pay, so there are options, right?
Yes, there is some options, even assumable loans.
Right. That's a big one, and a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody has a 3% loan and they need to sell the house for whatever reason, assume the loan.
Assume the loan. Yep.
It's a good deal.
And the thing is, for example, the example of, hey, this house is worth $500,000, right? And maybe the loan is only $250,000, right? Well, you just have to come up with the other $250. That might be with a second loan. They might have it in cash, whatever the case may be. But now they're able to take that loan at 3%, 2%, whatever it is, and they can then either, go out and get another loan for the 5, 6, 7%, whatever it's going to be. But 250 at 3% and 2%, that's free money.
Yep.
That's free money.
And the opportunities are out there.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunities are out there. You just need to work with an agent, work with somebody that's going to think outside the box a little bit to help you out. Because in this market that we're in, it is not the traditional market that you're gonna get everything from from the multiple listing service, which is where we list all of our houses. You're always gonna get things from you had to look it up. You have to create some things.
Right, and this is not only for buyers, but it's also for sellers.
Correct.
Because they might not know they have an assumable mortgage, and that is very attractive.
Yeah.
You can potentially get more buyers that can qualify and can actually buy that house versus ones that can't, and that means you're going to get top dollar.
Okay.
So working with someone that knows what they're doing, that knows about assumable mortgages, that knows about seller financing and all the different ways that you can sell your house, and not just, oh, hey, you're going to have to write a check to sell this house, or, because sometimes you're in a situation like that, right? So there's always many options, and you want to work with somebody that has been through it, or that at least knows the options so they can give them to you, because, the regular, everyday person is not going to know what an assumable mortgage is.
Yeah.
They're not going to know that they can do seller financing, right? So there's all these different options, and especially for investing, right? It's really big when you're an investor and you can go and find properties like that, like, wow, I can get this one, at 3% and assume that mortgage, right? Like that's big savings right there.
Well, one of the problems that we have right now in our society is we have too much information. That we have a lot of misinformation out there.
Yep.
And everybody wants to do it myself kind of thing. So it's like, okay, I never changed brakes in my car, but let me Google it, let me go YouTube, and some guy's gonna show me how to do it, and I'm gonna do it. And well, let's face it, sometimes maybe the brakes are not bad, maybe it's the brake line, maybe it's the sensor,
right?
Maybe it's a bunch of other things that only a mechanic can fix or can figure it out.
That either their years of experience or their equipment that costs thousands of dollars is going to tell them.
Correct. And it's gonna, in the long run, it's gonna save you money and your safety. I mean, you're not gonna drive a car with bad brakes that you can go and crash on somebody and hurt yourself and hurt somebody else.
Right.
So real estate is the same way, and that's why I put the brakes in the car, because it's a safety, something that is important, and having a good professional working with you, with a loan officer, realtor, title companies, it's a team effort. That's how you pretty much you're gonna save time, money, and energy, and a lot of stress.
Right. Look, if you want to do it all by yourself and you think you can do it and you have the time and you can sit there and learn and you can take all because there's a lot of calls. There's a lot of calls. You put a property up for sale and you're going to get a lot of calls.
Yeah.
So if you want to take up all those calls, if you want to, some people, look, at the end of the day, some people do not know what they're doing and they're not going to get top dollar for their house, right? But if you do know what you're doing, you know how to market a house, you know how to take good pictures, right? You're going to get top dollar. And that's the thing, right? Like 5-10% difference, that's a big difference when you're talking about a $400,000-$500,000 house, right? It's not, small pieces.
But this is the other thing. I have friends that are, I don't need an agent. I can go do for sale by owner. And I have good friends that they were going to hire me as an agent. Actually, they hired me as an agent for the house that they sold. But they sold this house. It was for sale by owner. They fell in love with the house. They negotiated themselves because the seller said, I don't want an agent involved. I'm going to give you that commission and savings for you guys and this and that. And they have spent so much money in the house because they didn't have anybody pretty much on their side telling them what to do, look what to look for, and they actually ended up paying even at closing more than what they were supposed to be paying. And again, nobody was advising them. They just like, well, we're gonna get a deal because this person is gonna give us the commission break on us. But at the end of the day, that was not probably. If you talk to them right now, they will tell you that they probably never should have bought the house, because all the things that are going with it.
And they would never have known because they don't know what to look out for, right? Like when we're walking through a house, we go, man, that's a busted window right there. That windowsill is, we can already tell it's fogged up. A lender's gonna ask for that, right? If they see it, right? Things like that we can see that we already know, right? And there's many other things, right? And
the inspection, all the contingencies, all the part of the contracts to help somebody out, make sure they get the right thing.
This is the end of part 1. Please tune into part 2 where we continue talking with Jose and get some more information. Thanks.